Only in Major League Baseball can you win a game like that. It is what makes this sport so great, so beautiful. You can have 2.5 hours of pretty bad baseball and maybe one of the more frustrating games of the season. And in one swing of the bat, it becomes the best win of the season for the Seattle Mariners. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Mariners post-game recap. The Mariners beat the Atlanta Braves 2-1 on a walk-off 2-run home run off the bat of Mitch Garver. They improved to 16-13 on the year, and they remain in first place. Before I dive into it, do me that favor, smash the like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We're going to have a ton of fun this year breaking down the Seattle Mariners. I apologize. I'm a little sweaty, and the shirt's a little wrinkled. That ninth inning got me. I was going pretty nuts there. Should bring the Mrs. Trident in. She can confirm that it was a pretty crazy ninth inning in this house. It's funny. I opened up with that little dialogue, and it's what I told Mrs. Trident. We were watching it, and, Polanco gets the base hit, and I said, it's funny. This is baseball. This is what makes this sport so amazing. Mitch Garver could ground into a double play right here and just continue the frustration, and we're just shaking our heads. Mitch Garver could hit a 2-run home run, and we're walking away as frustrating this has been, because she was frustrated during the 8th inning. She's like, I don't get this team with the bases loaded. It's like, sweetheart, welcome to Mariners baseball. But we've all been doing this for 30 years. So, we're pros at this. But it's what makes the sport so good. Like, Mitch Garver could hit a 2-run home run right now, and the Mariners win the ball game. It's over. They would win. And I'm not trying to be like some prophet that I called it. I was just making a point that, because I mentioned a double play too, that it's what makes the sport so great. And sure enough, Garver hits one out and the Mariners win it. And it goes from a frustrating loss to one of the best wins of the year. Now, let me be clear. A 2-run home run to win it does not eliminate all the offensive frustration. So for anybody out there watching that's still frustrated with this offense, you have every right to be. They were not very good tonight. They went 13 innings between yesterday and today without a hit. Max Fried's fantastic. Listen, this is probably not the series where the Mariners offense is going to get right. If you're trying to get right against the Atlanta Braves, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. I miss the Rockies. Can we play them again? That's a team you can get right against. The A's, if long as you're not facing Mason Miller in the 9th inning. Those are teams you can get right against. Atlanta's not that team. They're too good. You hope you can win a game like this. It maybe doesn't have to be this much pulling hair and pulling teeth. I think I pulled about 20 beard hairs out tonight, but it doesn't have to be quite like that. But it's not going to be easy. And listen, if we want this team to get to the pinnacle of what we hope they can be, World Series champs, or at least division champs, the Braves are the type of teams you're going to have to beat to reach that pinnacle. And that's how games against them are going to go. Maybe not quite that difficult or that much of a struggle to get a hit, but yeah, it's going to be a dogfight to beat the Atlanta Braves. That's how good they are. Their pitching is phenomenal. Their defense is phenomenal. Their bullpen's phenomenal. Their offense is phenomenal. And, it's not going to be easy to get them. I talked about the preview. I don't think I said it, but again, this is not going to be the get right series for the Mariners offense. I'd like to see them be better than they were, but probably not the series where they're just going to get it all turned around right away. Did they do enough? Yeah. I mean, they did. The pitching was phenomenal, and I will talk about how good Bryce Miller was tonight. What a performance for Bryce Miller. And, that's the thing. The Mariners pitching has been so dominant the last, 3-4 weeks, that you can stomach the offense not having been as good because the pitching's carried it. There's a lot of teams. The Mariners are 5-2 over their last 7. There's a lot of teams to be 2-5 with what the Mariners offense have done. Heck, there's teams probably 1-6-0-7. They've had some flashes, but not a lot of good, consistent at-bats, and that carried into tonight. Now, with that said, do I think the starting pitching is going to run like it's been a 1.5 ERA over the last month? No, they're going to come down a little bit, but they are capable of streaks like this. And when you get these streaks, the offense doesn't have to be as great. It would be great if they could do it together and just dominate. But the Braves are not a team you're going to get 12, 13 runs against. They're probably going to give that up. I think every team probably has once a year where they just get blasted, but that's going to be about it. And it's going to be a bunch of bloopers falling in against them and stuff like that. So lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, the pitching is capable of streaks like this. And when you have that, the offense doesn't have to be as good. That's not excusing it. It needs to be better. If we want the Mariners to reach the goals that we hope for them, which I've said is winning the AL West, and I, on record, is saying I think they can compete for a World Series, the offense has to be better. Zero doubt about that. but that's how good the starting pitching is. And I do see some people, not really here, but on Twitter and stuff, that said like, oh, the Mariners are just fortunate with their starting pitching. Well, that's one of the reasons I thought this team was going to be really good, is they have great starting pitching and they can win games like this where the offense is scuffling for a little bit and they can find a way to pull it out. That's what makes this team capable of being good and dangerous, is how good the starting pitching can be. And like I said, is it going to keep this up? Probably not. No staff is this good, but the offense should get better. I know I've been saying that, but and maybe that Mitch Garver, home run was the start. Maybe that was it. We'll see. And you've also now guaranteed this stretch of Texas, Arizona, Atlanta. You're coming out of it at worst 5-4. And now you've got 2 games to win a series against probably the best team in baseball. We can argue that. I'm not trying to start argument of Dodgers, Braves, whoever you want to put in there, whatever. I don't really care, but the Braves are certainly in the discussion for best team in baseball at the very least. So you've guaranteed yourself 5-4. It's not going to get easier. You got to go to Houston, then Minnesota. Those are 2 pretty good ball clubs as well. I know Houston's scuffling, but they're going to be tough. So even if you lose the next 2, I'm not saying I want that. I hope they can find a way to win this series. That'd be huge. Be a huge statement for this team to beat the Atlanta Braves in a series. But they have found a way here through the starting pitching to get this thing back on track. And I do believe this offense will get going at some point. I don't think it's going to be the best offense in baseball. Like I talked about Mariner Sir yesterday, I do think it's capable, and he mentioned it too, being in that kind of 8 to 12 range. And there are too many good players that are not playing to the back of their baseball cards right now. Heck, they're not even playing to the back of my baseball card right now. Like, you know what I mean? And if they got like a little bit below their career averages, it would be good. But man, when you're playing a team like the Braves, sometimes you just got to find a way. You just got to find a way. And the Mariners did it. They found a way to get this W, a huge win. And now you got a chance tomorrow with Castillo on the mound. You can win a series. This team has a chance to win this series tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves. Let's dive into the box score a little bit. Bryce Miller, I mean, just what an outing. 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 10 Ks. Bryce Miller deserved a W. Max Fried probably deserved a W too, and I will say that. Fried was outstanding as well. One thing to remember, it's not like you were facing a slouch pitcher. This wasn't Cal Quantrill. Poor Cal Quantrill. I bring him up in like every video. But this wasn't him shutting you down for 6 innings. But Bryce Miller, what an outing. Absolutely fantastic. And I know Mitch Garver got the hugs and handshakes afterwards, but man, I hope some people went up and hugged Bryce Miller to shut down that lineup for 7 innings, 1 walk, 10 Ks. And the run, you could even make a case the run wasn't his fault. Ronald Acuna gets an infield hit, steals second, which Cal had a pretty good throw. Dylan Moore just a little too far in front to get the tag. Then he steals third, which the Mariners just honestly looked like they weren't paying attention, which was frustrating. Albies drills one to the gap. That was hit solid. And the Braves take a 1-0 lead. And how about Miller getting out of that 7th, only giving up the run? Ozzie Albies gets the hit. You have got Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and Marcelo Zuna coming up with the runner at second, nobody out. I mean, that's as good of a 3, 4, and 5 zeros in baseball. And Bryce Miller kept it at 1. That's huge. I cannot say enough about the outing Bryce Miller had. I will say you see where a guy like Ronald Acuna, even when he's not playing his best baseball, can make impacts. That's kind of what we need from Julio a little bit at times. Acuna gets on base, infield hit, nothing special, but he gets to third base, right away. A little infield hit turns into a sac fly, possibly wins you the game if you're the Atlanta Braves. And love to see some of that from Julio. And Julio's starting to come around a little bit. Not a great game today. We'll talk about it. But, get on base, steal a couple bags, and boom, a sac fly, and you can win the game. That's where a player that's so good like that can still have an impact on the game, even when they're not playing at their best. But speaking at their best, Bryce Miller, takes a perfect game into the 6th. Even that walk he had to Travis d'Arnaud, the home plate umpire missed a call. I think it was Lance Barksdale was the home plate umpire. It was still, it was a walk. It was a borderline call, one of them. And then one of the 2 hits he gives up were an infield. He took a no-hitter in the 7th. We had dueling no-hitters today, by the way. Both pitchers finished 6 innings without giving up a hit, which is just incredible. And it shows how good these staffs are of both teams. And that's the thing. Like, you can be frustrated with the Mariners offense, but Max Fried does deserve credit as well. And I would say the same things about the Braves. Braves fans are frustrated with their offense, which they've got some guys performing really well, but Olsen, Acuna, and Austin Riley are all underperforming a little bit. And if I was a Braves fan, I'd have to tip my cap to Bryce Miller. He was sensational tonight. What an outing from Bryce Miller. And, the type of game that Bryce Miller doesn't pitch like that last year, I feel like, against this lineup, I was worried. I thought this might be a tough matchup for Miller. Now, I didn't realize, I guess the Braves have the most swing and misses this year on fastballs. If I would have known that for the pregame or the preview series, I would have mentioned it and would have given me a little more hope for Miller. And I think that's why he was so fastball heavy tonight. Had a couple nice splitters. I think he struck out Ozuna on a really nasty splitter. But I am a firm believer that Bryce Miller has taken this step forward. And he wasn't bad last year, but I think he was just so fastball heavy. And I think hitters figured it out a little bit. This year he's mixing in that splitter, the slider a little bit more, the sinker. That fastball has that great rise to it. What an outing. I mean, 4 aces, right, for this team. I mean, I talked about last time, Miller's close. We talked about Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, right? That's the big 3. Miller and Wu are kind of here. Miller's moving closer to those guys. Yeah, I'm starting to put him in that category with them. I can be the ultimate jinx, so I don't want to do it yet, but he is getting there. Just a tremendous performance from Bryce Miller, and that shouldn't go forgotten with what Mitch Garver did in the 9th inning, with all the frustrations with the offense. Bryce Miller was phenomenal tonight and deserves every bit of accolades. And Cody Bolton and Austin Voth do a nice job. Voth strikes out the side in the 9th inning, gives up the hit to Kelenic, works around it. Bolton does a nice shutout inning in the 8th. And, one more nice thing about this game, you gave an extra day off to Gabe Spire, Andres Munoz, Ryan Stanek. So you have the big guns ready to go if you got a tight game tomorrow. Little things that can make a difference here for the Mariners. Let's talk a little bit about the 7th and 8th innings, or no, it was just the 8th. Let's talk a little bit about the 8th inning, then I'll get into the lineup, because there are some things I do want to talk about with it. And a great win, but it shouldn't dismiss some of our frustrations, just as a terrible loss shouldn't dismiss like Bryce Miller's good outing. If they had lost this game, Miller still deserves praise. So the 8th inning starts with a Ty France 4-pitch walk, and then it was a Josh Rojas pinch hit base hit. Now, I know some people were kind of frustrated that they didn't pinch run for France right away. I don't know if anybody would have gotten a third on that Rojas hit. Ronald Acuna has got one of the best arms in baseball. It certainly would have been more likely with Rivas or Raley running there that you get safe at third. But there's a decent chance that it wouldn't have mattered either way. I was getting frustrated because Ty's sitting out there at second. Then you have Luis Urias bunt, which is fine, but at that point you need to run for Ty. So see, I can't be critical of Scott sometimes. I'm not just a Scott apologist all the time. I don't think it would have made that big of a difference. And that's kind of why I was talking about managerial stuff. Like, if the guys aren't hitting, it's not going to matter. Those things are, I think, very minor. But I do think they should have pinched ran for Francil earlier, either with Raley and then have Haggerty hit, or have Rivas pinch run, which they eventually did, but not till after the Urias strikeout and everything. And I don't really like the idea of Urias bunting with Ty France at second base. I think that can lead to a disaster and an easy throw out, potentially, even if he gets the bunt down. Then Luke Raley pinch hit for Haggerty, which is fine. I have no problem with Rivas running and Raley batting. However you want to do it, that's totally fine. Raley doesn't hit it very hard, but just gets through the hole enough for a base hit, which loads him up with one out. Joe Jimenez did not look super sharp. Very easy 4-pitch walk to Ty France. Now, in Jimenez's defense, Rojas' single was kind of a little seeing eye one. So was Raley's. It's like he was hit very hard, but his slider wasn't super sharp, and he had a little trouble with the fastball command. I thought Julio missed a pretty easy slider on a 1-0 count. And then he pops up to Kelenic, and Kelenic had that momentum running in. There's no way that Rivas would have scored there if Kelenic would have made the throw. So that's a smart hold by Manny Acta. And then Mitch Haniger with a brutal strikeout on a slider that wasn't even close. Julio and Haniger have to be better. I'm not going to dive into it too much because this was an amazing win for the Mariners, but they've got to be better. End of discussion there. And then the 9th inning, good to see Jorge Polanco with a hit. Talk about Mitch Garver, but really nice to see Polanco drive a ball into left field there for the base hit. Polanco's been scuffling, as has everybody, but good to see him start a rally there and let Mitch Garver finish. So let's look at the box score. Julio 0 for 4. Mitch Haniger 0 for 4. They've got to be better. That's all I can say there. Polanco 1 for 4. Didn't walk. That's a shock. Polanco's kind of weird because it looked like he was really coming out of it. Had a nice series against the Cubs, had a couple of home runs against the Reds, or just had a good series against the Reds. And then he's been scuffling since then as well. with the Texas. Was Texas after Cincinnati? No, what was the series? Oh, Colorado. Played pretty well in Colorado and then really has been scuffing the last few days. So kind of frustrating because I thought Polanco was really turning it around, kind of backtracked. Love the base hit in the ninth. Hopefully he can get going. Like all these guys, I've recorded this video a couple times. So I don't know if I made the joke that they're not even hitting like what I would be hitting. You know what I mean? I said the back of their baseball card. They're not even hitting the back of my baseball card. If I made that joke already, I totally apologize. Like I said, it's my third time recording this by accident. So if I'm doubling on jokes, please forgive me. Mitch Garver, 1 for 3, 2-run home run to win it, and a walk. Garver actually had some pretty decent at-bats against Fried. He worked the walk. He had another one where he fouled off some pitches. I think he got to a 3-ball count, almost worked another walk against Fried. Garver's probably the one guy. I mean, obviously he's going to get not a pass. He was the hero tonight. But I thought he actually had some decent at-bats against Max Fried. Cal 0 for 3 with the walk. A lot of offers. They had, well, how many hits did the Mariners have? 4. All of them after the 8th inning. Ty 0 for 2 with the walk. Rivas pinch ran. Dylan Moore 0 for 2. Josh Rojas 1 for 1. I would like to see Rojas. Listen, I get platooning him. I do. I'm not saying he should play every day, but I think he should get some at-bats against lefties. I really do. I think he's capable of at least not being a disaster against them at all. And with JP out, I want to see some more Josh Rojas. I know the base hit wasn't like the most special base hit of all time, but man, like it was weird. When Rojas pinched hit, I felt good. I was like, Josh Rojas, is coming up. Okay, we're good. Rojas going to put together quality at bat here. And sure enough, lines a base hit into right field. So more Josh Rojas. I'm not saying he should play every day against lefties. And I know his hit wasn't off a lefty either, but I'm kind of inching towards playing Rojas a lot more. I'm not saying Urias doesn't play at all, but get Rojas a couple starts against lefties. Urias was 0 for 3, Haggerty 0 for 2 in his return. Luke Raley 1 for 1 with the pinch hit. Again, it wasn't anything special, but heck, we'll take it. It didn't amount to anything because Julio and Haniger pop out and strike out in the 8th, but still good to see a hit from Luke Raley. Listen, I am emotionally drained from that game. That game had every emotion you could imagine. You had Bryce Miller perfect through 5. You had Max Fried throwing a no-hitter. You had the Mariners being no-hit and not having a hit since Moses was wearing short pants, and then finally coming through and getting the bases loaded and then screwing the pooch in the 8th inning to then getting a base hit and walking off in the 9th. An emotional roller coaster of a game, but a really, really nice W for the Seattle Mariners. There are no pictures in the box scores when you wake up the next day. That's a W for the Mariners against a really, really good baseball team. And that's one thing I would say. Guys, they're not going to pound the Braves into submission. If they can find a way to squeak out a couple wins, you tip your cap. The Rockies, you can pound them into submission. The A's, the White Sox, probably beat up on those teams a little bit. The Braves is going to be a battle. It was half tongue in cheek, but half serious. So there was a World Series preview. I'm not talking World Series or anything in April, but man, if this is what's to come, we're in for a wild ride in 2024. The offense is going to be better. It will. I'm not trying to sound like the teacher encouraging you guys to get out there and keep fighting, but it is going to be better. This offense is capable. There are good hitters in this lineup. It's not going to be the Braves offense, but it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. And this pitching, if Bryce Miller has really taken this step forward that it looks like he has, good luck. Good luck to opponents facing the Seattle Mariners, because you are going to be in for a long day on the offensive side of it. It's a good baseball team. It is. Frustrating, yes. We're Seattle's fans. Even the Seahawks Super Bowl season had frustrating moments. So we just got to be used to that by now. But this is a good team. They are going to win a lot of baseball games. That doesn't mean you can't be frustrated. I'm not telling you guys sitting there that are frustrated with the offense that you're wrong. In fact, you're not. You're right. It is. But they're finding a way. And once this offense gets going, mixed with this pitching, this is going to be a darn good baseball team that's capable of doing some serious damage. And yes, they are more than capable of winning this division. It's a good baseball team. Let's go. Mitch Garver, get him on track. That's his Mariner moment to turn his season around. Polanco gets the base hit. Time for this team to break out. Bryce Miller's been a Cy Young candidate with Logan Gilbert as well. Loving this team. They're stressing me out, but I love them. Have a great night, everybody. Remember to hit that like button, hit subscribe. If you're going to T-Mobile or going to a Mariners game or going to concerts, events, whatever you may have it, download the SeatGeek app or go to their website. Use promo code JSTrident. Save yourself $20. Hit that like button, hit subscribe for me. It helps out the channel. And I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully celebrating a series win against the Atlanta Braves. Let's see if we can get that. Let's see, because that would be pretty darn cool if you ask me. Have a great night, everybody, and go Mariners.